Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Retro Gamers Podcast, episode number 267. Larry here.
And Anthony here.
And sir, how are you this week?
I am doing 267% better.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. How's LA weather?
It's cold.
Is it as cold as it is here? I think it's in the teens right now. Might be in the 20s.
Okay, well then you win. which is odd because when it comes to this podcast, you don't normally win.
Wow. Ouch. We'll see this year. I'm telling you. You're one up on me right now, no pun intended, with the 2022 contest. But the game I have in store, I'm telling you.
Yes, I have faith. I have total faith that you will be very competitive this year.
I am ready to go.
Not saying you're going to win. I'm just saying you're going to be competitive.
I'm not saying I'm going to win, but I'll be close. I mean, I was close last year, but then you decided to pull the rug out from under me. But be that as it may, I'm over that, and we've moved on accordingly.
Well, after all the years you've known me, if you expect anything less, you're just sorely mistaken.
You know why? Because there was such a gap in between, when we, both lived in Brooklyn and hung out, daily and playing games then with your rage quitting, and then versus to where we're at now. It's been a long time. So I kind of forgot. How you are, and quickly reminded in December of 2021. So, but we're here.
Between that and Kung Fu, I think, I don't think there are any more surprises when it comes to me.
So, but stay tuned because we will continue to check out, of course, our 2022 competition. And folks, remember, especially those of you watching right now on YouTube, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell icon as well, so you know when we put up new videos. Because as much as we weekly put up the episodes, and as much as now monthly, we're going to be doing our competition episodes, every once in a blue moon, one of us might just pop a video up randomly on YouTube. Yep. We want to make sure you see them. The reason why I say that is because I recently did a very quick, nothing major, but a quick unboxing of Mega Man: The Wily Wars for the Genesis.
Yes, and I saw that.
Yes, and definitely go back and you'll find it on our YouTube page, on our Facebook page as well, and I think it's over on Instagram as well. Without going back into it too much as far as what it looks like, it's a great... Actually, I have the main box here. The cart and everything are over there, but at least I can show you the components for those of you who might not have watched the video yet. So... I mean, that blue, let me see if I can zoom in. The blue cart, I mean, just pops. That's one of my favorite looking carts right now. Like, special edition.
It looks really good. Like when you showed it in the video, like up close, it was nice.
Yep. Very interesting reversible cover on the Genesis box.
So cool.
So, and for those...
Which cover do you have showing?
So I have the original, which is that first one there, the one in the front. All right, because the second one, like, everyone's all happy and posing for a photo. Mega Man's out to kill these robots.
Well, maybe they're just pulling back the curtain a little bit, and they're like, "Look, we actually are just putting on a show, guys."
Or he just might be as much of a psychopath to be like, I'm going to pose with everyone before I destroy you and take your essence. He takes their essence.
Yeah, I will basically. Yeah, let's take a photo before I murder you and steal your soul.
Isn't that what a megalomaniac is? Honestly.
Well, maybe Mega Man belongs in Mortal Kombat. Maybe Mega Man is Shang Tsung.
Ooh, maybe that's some fan theory right there for you folks. So of course, Mega Man: The Wily Wars was a game on the Sega Channel. Basically, it's the Super Mario All-Stars of Mega Man with the first 3 games redone in 16-bit. Now, this game never released on cartridge, period, not even in Japan. But the first time it got a Western release was on the Genesis Mini. So it is available on that, which I own, but I just never really got into it. It was cool, but I never got into it. But then when the cartridge finally showed up, after long waits of ports and everything, I gotta say, it's been my number one gameplay this week. I've played nothing else but the Wily Wars.
That's awesome.
I'm actually like progressing into it. I've never been good at Mega Man games, I'm gonna be honest. I've never completed any of them. Contests, forget about it.
Really?
Aside. I didn't even bother trying for the contest because I knew how bad I was.
Well, Mega Man games are really hard. I mean,
it's terrible.
I went through a stint at one point. Like when I was a kid, I beat 1 and 2.
Okay.
I don't know how I beat the first one. But I remember beating 1 and 2, and then I just kind of fell off from there. Like I remember buying, I think at least 3, maybe 4, and never finished them. But then, like, I don't know, 10 years ago, like I just went on a run. You know what it was when 9 came out? Was 9 the first one that came out on Virtual Console?
9 came out, which was also a throwback to the original like 8-bit graphics, because Mega Man 8 went to PlayStation. And 7 was on Super Nintendo. So that was the first time that was when that nostalgia kick was happening with video games.
Right. So when 9 came out, I went back and I was like, you know what? I never really played through all of the first 6. So, and I know 7 and 8 was there, but I never played through the first 6. So I'm like, let me go back and play. So I played through the first 5. Like I went through them all.
Okay.
Went through the first 5 and I never went to 6. I don't know why. I just kind of, that's where my nostalgia stopped. I was like, I'm good here. and then ironically enough, 9 and 10, which came out on the Virtual Console. Was it 9 and 10 or 8 and 9?
No, 9 and 10. 9 and 10. 1 through 6 was
I never finished those.
Those were, there's easy, there's hard, and then there's Mega Man. Like 9 and 10 were sadistic.
Yep.
From what I remember. And 11, I just haven't had much time to play, but and I've had it for a while now. But going back and playing this, and again, like even in the original Mega Man, I don't think I've ever, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I've ever truly, without like using a code to jump to it, I don't think I've ever gotten to Wily's board, like let alone defeat all 6, because in the first game there was only 6. All 6 Robot Masters, and now I'm on the second stage of Dr. Wily. Now,
nice.
I'm happy about it, and I don't know if Wily Wars, because they did tweak some things, but I don't know, like the instructions were like, well, some things are easier, but some things are harder. So I don't know where the differences are. But bottom line, and I've had my difficulties. Don't get me wrong, Iceman level can go straight to hell. But
those moving blocks.
No, not the moving blocks as much, but remember like the propeller guys, you have to jump from one to another.
Oh, yes.
And they're firing at you, and there's no set pattern. So is what it is, but I am just enjoying it. Maybe because it's on Genesis, I'm getting a kick out of using my Genesis. But bottom line, I'm going through it, and my goal is to do those 3 Mega Mans, and then who knows? Maybe because I have the Legacy Edition, so I have all technically the Mega Mans. Maybe I'll move on from there. But right now, my gaming has been the Wily Wars.
Okay, that's cool. And you couldn't pick a stronger franchise. I mean, Mega Man's such a huge franchise, and we've grown up with it. Yes, I have not been playing anything retro, have I? I'm trying to think.
New stuff?
I think I kind of exhausted myself in December when I just piled onto the contest. That is true.
You did a lot. You did a lot. Yeah.
I mean, I even struggled through Kung Fu Heroes while I was traveling.
You even said yourself, that was just an ugly game.
Oh my God. That game was so obnoxious. I did not like it at all. But I did it for the sake of the contest.
There you go.
So I've been actually playing. It's funny because I've been trying to find a game because I play a lot online. I play a lot online now with friends. So like most of my time now, I play Rocket League, which is really fun.
Okay.
It's just a lot of fun. But I started getting into a game I downloaded a while ago because on the Humble Bundle website,
Oh yes.
They recently had a action adventure package, and I didn't buy it because it was for PC, and I don't really sit in front of my PC and play anymore. But it was the Mist collection.
Oh, there you go.
And so I didn't buy it, like I said, because it was on PC. I was hoping they would have it for like a console, but they didn't, because I don't think the games are available on Virtual Console yet. Not all of them. I don't think so.
Maybe not. I feel like I saw them somewhere, but continue.
Yeah. So anyway, so I bought this game for the PS4. Either bought it or it was a monthly one a long time ago, a couple of years ago, whatever. For the PS4, called Abduction. Obduction. Abduction. Right. But the way I say it is abduction, which sounds like abduction, which is not what it is. So abduction
is like a movie.
It's a Myst kind of game where it's like you're in this world and you're trying to figure out the story of what happened. And, you know, it's a cool little story about people who were like plucked from different time streams to live in this like alien world. And now you're trying to figure out what happened there with the people that were transported there and the alien species. And you do that by kind of just exploring and unlocking the world itself to get the story. So it's a very slow paced game. There's no fighting, none of that stuff. It's all exploring. And sometimes I just want games like that. I love games like that. It gives me a chance to kind of just slow down and not worry about, oh, you got to run to this and then you run into this and you run into this. It's just kind of like casual exploring, enjoying the graphics and the world that's around you. So I've been playing that all week.
All right, that's cool.
Yeah.
You know,
it's been fun.
No, cool. And I know how much you love those games. And it's funny that you mentioned it. First of all, real quick, if you want a heads up, I know you might have to dust it off, but they made it's not available for PlayStation VR, but there is a VR version of Myst that came out for Oculus. And a flat screen version was released last year for Xbox. So just throwing it out there.
I'd have to pull my Xbox out of the closet.
Exactly.
It is not. I have not hooked it up in a long time.
But you know, funny enough, you say that real quick, and then we'll got some more things to talk about. But I literally just downloaded it a day or two ago, so hopefully it's still on sale. You know, every now and again, like on the Switch, they like discount games to like a nickel or something like that, or even a penny. I've seen games for
I've definitely seen that. So.
Yeah, there's a game I downloaded because I think it was literally like maybe 8 cents or something, called Tardy, Tardy.
Okay,
and it's kind of and I only played just the first few minutes of it just to get a feel of it. It's kind of a point and click game, but it doesn't feel like a point and click game, if that makes any sense. Which I know it doesn't, but you might want to check it out. Honestly, if it's under a dime, go for it. And again, it's called Tardy. You wake up on a spaceship, and then you just have to kind of find your way around. And this is early in the game. There's no spoilers, but like to get things going, you have to like play a game of Pong against the computer. So it's very, very interesting. Absolutely check it out. Again, Tardy, Tardy. Hopefully it's still on sale. Dirt cheap.
Cool. And then for anybody interested in the Myst Humble Bundle that I was talking about, as of today, Tuesday, there's about 3 days left on the sale.
Okay.
And Humble Bundle's that place, you know, they offer you a bundle of games. This one's got 12 games in it, and you pay what you want. You can pay as little as $1. I was like, however, they do give you a recommended amount they would like you to pay in order to, like, you know, keep the website running,
keep the lights on.
Yeah, exactly. So, and plus some of the donation goes to some of it goes to a charity of your choosing as well. They give you an option on what charity you would like to donate part of the proceeds to. So all very good stuff. Now that I think about it, I may, since it's still on sale, I may wind up picking it up anyway, just to have it.
Why not?
Well, I mean, point and click adventures, I will say they're better to play on a PC, because I will say playing 100%. Abduction on my PS4, like having to use the joysticks to move the cursor around.
You actually have to move like a pointer.
Yeah, you actually. It's like they give you an option in settings to do free roam or fixed.
Okay,
But I
yeah.
found, yeah, I haven't been able to get comfortable with the fixed one, so I just free roam. But then to get it exactly on the items you need to
Yeah.
activate sometimes can be a pain.
That
So like, yeah, so point and click to me are better on PC, and now I've actually convinced
100%.
myself that I should buy this Humble Bundle.
Yeah, no, 100%. And on a side note, that's what I like about Tardy. You kind of jump to the different options. You don't like move your mouse. Though, as slow it is to move a mouse, when you finally click on something for the character to walk over to it,
Oh,
makes up,
yes.
I guess, for that time. But never, yeah, point and click, that's something we got to talk about down the road. I've never been into point and click. Both PC, definitely not consoles, but something we can address down the road.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I blame Seventh Guest for that. That started it all for me.
I don't think I've ever actually sat down for a point and click. I can't, right now, I can't think of one. Maybe I'll try for next week, but
Yeah.
can't think.
Well, maybe we can find you one that's, I would say maybe I can find you one that's worth your while.
There is kind of a point and click would actually would kind of lead into something else I've been debating about that maybe you can help me out try and decide on something and you know those listening and watching can help out because Silent Service was kind of like a point and click game.
Okay.
Silent Service, a game back in the 80s. Basically, you ran a submarine and you know you're out in battle and whatnot. And not only is it just trying to hit the ships, you know, with the torpedoes, but you also got to man like the speed, the depth, chart maps. It's actually pretty detailed and in depth for at the time I probably would have been like 7 or 8. But for someone in their 30s, back in the 80s, who I would have never imagined playing video games, because you know, being in your 30s and your 40s back in the 80s was like none of this would be happening.
No.
This wouldn't be happening. But my one of the very few games that my dad loved on the NES was Silent Service because he's a veteran. It was never on a submarine, but he definitely knows how one works. So he loved Silent Service. It was like one of 5 games that he basically commandeered my Nintendo for.
Okay.
And then a few years ago, when I started shopping at Game On, I came across Silent Service in box, and I bought it for him. I'm like, hey, look, here you go. Nostalgia. You know, it is what it is. Right. He looked at it for a second. And was like, what is this? I'm like, do you remember? He's like, oh, yeah, put it away. And it wasn't until a couple of weeks ago, I guess he's kind of getting his computer room, his office, in you know, just straightening it up. And he's like, oh, you know, I came across this game. I'm like, yeah, I gave that to you as a gift, you know, just to have. And he's like, oh, how do I play it? Well, I'm like, well, you don't have anything at the house. It's for the Nintendo. And then he goes, okay, I want to play it. So I'm like, seriously? And he was like, yes, I want to, because he's always been trying to find a game to play. And he always wants like a submarine game. Because I know he's always going back to Silent Service. And there hasn't been that series is done. They haven't made a new game in forever.
Yeah.
But since he was so obsessed with the NES one, I've actually been thinking about getting him an original Nintendo to play. And it's just a matter of like, how do I go about it? Like, what should I get him? Like an original console? Do I get him one of the, you know, Hyperkin ones? Do I try and find some jacked up one? Because again, he absolutely positively does not care how it's going to be hooked up, what it's going to look like, if it's going to be crisp, if it's going to be jacked. You know what I mean? And then I think to myself, should I then get him all the other games like to go with it? Should I just get him a RetroPie? Like I'm trying to figure out what to do, because here's the other issue. And then for you to chime in on it, whatever I get him, I know that he's going to have a lot of questions for, which is okay. So I'm going to be doing a lot of troubleshooting from here. So also try to minimize all of that.
Well, my 2 cents would be, I would just get him something that's easy to navigate. If you get him an original Nintendo and he has to go through the rigmarole of like blowing into the cartridge and putting it in and getting it to work, I have a feeling that Nintendo's not going to last.
You know him. He'll throw it against the room. He'll throw it against the wall and call it a day.
So I think your RetroPie thought might be a good idea, or something of that nature. And to be honest with you, also, it doesn't just open up Silent Service for him. It opens up all like war-based games that he would like. Because I know you had mentioned, I remember you've talked about it on the show before, and I also remember when we were younger, he loved Desert Strike.
Oh, he absolutely. I mean, he rocked Desert Strike. It's hysterical.
But that's what I mean. I think if you get him like a RetroPie, and then you just clue him in to be like, here's a list of the games that you would play.
Yeah.
So that way he's not looking through this list saying, Larry, there are a million games. I don't know where to find them. It's like, here's a list of the ones I know you'll like.
I'm not playing a Barbie game. I'm like, you don't have to play the game. Just go past it. Why are you in the bees?
Yeah, exactly. Or he's going to be like, I accidentally turned on the Barbie game, and hey, it was pretty good.
Yeah, that would be wow.
That Ken, man, he's just a laugh.
I'd have to warn my mom. We might have to put him in a home then at that point.
Yeah, exactly. When does the sequel come out?
But because he's definitely got. I remember distinctly. Yeah, Silent Service, Dr. Mario, Desert Strike, War in the Gulf. Desert Strike, and then Super Battle Tank, War in the Gulf.
Right,
which are 2 NES games, 2 Super Nintendo games. He never dove into Genesis. So, right. Or anything since then. So I was debating maybe just to make it simple and get him. Hyperkin sells the Duo NES SNES system, which hooks up through HDMI. Because again, I'm not. Trust me, I'm not. I don't even think his television has a composite or component input. I'd have to double check. But yeah, that's also the concern is, when they start breaking down, try to explain to him how to do that. But he's also, obviously smart enough that he could, I can just get him a thing of Brasso, which he probably already has in the house. And then just start wiping it down and clean it up. But I don't know, might be something to
maybe the Hyperkin.
I was thinking maybe the Hyperkin.
And then he has a nice little collection of cartridges to go with.
He would have about 4 or 5 of them. And, I've said ever since I learned about the studies, he was obsessed with Dr. Mario, and again to this day, I swear it was because he was. Oh, what's happening? Oh, we got a battle. Round 1, fight.
My cat is eating straw. The straw.
Oh wow. Yeah. Well, you guys have paper straws out there, don't you?
Well, no, this isn't the paper straw. This is just the straw, packaging.
Oh, I gotcha.
The straw sleeves. He usually just likes to bat it around, but now he's starting to eat it. So I'm like, okay, no, you can't have it now. I take your toys away.
Oh, chubby bunny.
And now he's looking at me like he's all lost, and that's when the laser pointer comes out.
Oh boy. Does your cat purposely sometimes get himself in trouble to break the laser pointer out?
No.
Because my mom is determined that her cat purposely will start to act up just to get the laser pointer out.
No, well, I don't know. What I usually do is when I see him starting to go after my other cat.
Okay.
When he starts to go after Snow, that's when I break the laser pointer out because I'm like, oh, you have energy to burn? Fine, I'll exhaust you. and then I get him to the point where he chases it around, and then you can tell when he runs out of energy because then he just sits. And then he watches it go around, but he's like, I'm not chasing it anymore. I was like, oh, somebody's tired. So
see, Link is a bad guy after all.
I know. I should have named him Ganondorf.
It's not too late. Rename him Ganon.
No.
So
it's okay.
All right. Link. So I appreciate. I appreciate that input. If anybody else has any ideas, maybe how to go about that. And what I was saying real quick, I was saying Dr. Mario, I think, helped with his PTSD because studies came out with Tetris and everything, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
So I am 100% a believer in that. But we'll see what goes on. I'll keep everyone up to date as things go on with that. And
very cool. I'm curious. Yeah, I'm curious to hear. Did you find a piece? No. I'm curious to hear. I'm curious to hear what you wound up doing. So
absolutely. So all right. So that's a little bit as to what's been happening, at least here. Let's talk about some stuff that's been happening in the gaming world. I don't know where you want to start off first, Dan. You can lead us through.
I'll lead you through because I got a bunch. I got some retro news, but I've also got some solid retro birthdays this week. Really solid, including one from last week that we did not touch on because I wanted to spend a little more time on it. But I think we'll hold off on that one.
Okay, fair enough. We can close with that one. That's fine.
We'll close with that one, which would be nice because I want to spend a little time on that one.
Yep.
But just starting up with the retro news. So first thing I have here is actually an item, and you know how sometimes with your retro games, especially your cartridge-based games, like the ones that used to have you be able to save your states on. So we're talking Zelda.
Oh, okay, yeah.
A lot of RPG games,
Pokemon, stuff like that.
Pokemon, things like that that have internal memory. After a certain amount of time, the memory just dies. Like the batteries only last so long. Okay. That was until somebody realized this and decided to come up with an item that you can purchase. It's from the Save the Hero project, and it's called the Kart Reader.
Kart Reader.
It's an open source device that allows you to dump ROM and save data from your existing cartridges, and then even load save data from the emulator onto your cart.
Okay.
So basically, let's say you have a copy of Super Mario 64.
Yeah.
You can save your save states to this cart reader. If the battery in your Mario 64 cart ever dies, you can buy another Mario 64 cartridge and then re-upload your save state.
Oh, I get it now. Yep. This sounds so familiar.
Yep. It supports the Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, Genesis, Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance.
Wow.
You can take your save data files, you can move them over to your PC or any emulation device that you wish. And you don't need any other hardware, except for the cart reader itself. And this was funded on Kickstarter.
Oh, was it?
It was funded on Kickstarter. It was done in Japan. They raised 3.3, almost 3.4 million yen.
Oh, wow.
Each device costs about $93 American.
Doesn't sound bad.
Global sales are going to be opening soon. I'm going to bring a picture up of it really quickly so you can take a look at it. So this is what it looks like. It's just this little.
Oh, look at that fancy thing.
Yeah, it's this little thing, and it has the slots to put the cartridges in, whether it's Super Nintendo or Genesis, and then I'm assuming there are slots underneath. If you look underneath it, that'll do
probably
Game Boy,
Game
Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, type of stuff. So and then somewhere in there, I'm sure there's a hookup. There's a micro SD card that you save it to, and then you can just copy that over to your PC. So you never have to worry about losing your save states.
That, you know what, this is what reminded me. There's something actually just came up recently. If I may, Ant, to actually share my screen real quick.
I'll stop sharing.
That if it starts to get too loud, just let me know. They're doing construction a little bit outside my house.
Nobody's louder than you, so you're fine.
This is true. You know, I've gotten in trouble in school because of that. Like grammar school. I will never. Okay, here we go. I will never forget. It was lunchtime one time, and I was talking. And I am naturally loud, especially on the telephone. Like when I was working in an office, like when we worked, there was a time, folks, when people used to actually gather in the same building to do what was called daily work.
I don't believe it.
And I've always talked loud because I wanted to make sure they heard me on the phone. But I remember in school, like one of the teachers came from down the hall, like 4 classrooms over. It was like, Larry, I can hear you down the hall. And I wasn't like screaming at someone. I was just talking. So I've always been a loud talker.
You were taught at a young age to project to the back of the theater.
You're right. I was. You know what? You're 100% right on that. Here, let me share this. So anyway, just funny enough, Game On actually got this into their store. Where the hell is there? It is.
I don't know.
And this is what it reminded what you were talking about. Remember this contraption for the N64?
Oh my God, I have not seen that in forever.
Right? It was now. Ant, are you talking about the contraption attached to the N64 or what's called a zip disk?
Yes, both.
Oh, remember zip disks?
Oh my God, zip disks.
Again, folks, for those who don't know, what zip disk was, I would say, came between the floppy disk and the CD-ROM, or maybe even after the CD-ROM.
I think it came after the CD-ROM.
It was almost like a CD-ROM on a floppy, kind of, sort as far as memory. It was just much larger.
It just had a lot of. I gotta look it up now. Zip
I
discs.
remember for the Y2K situation, I was working in a retail store, and I remember we had to back up the computer like New Year's Eve, 1999, going into 2000, and we must have had to literally. It took about like maybe 8 or 10 zip disks to back up the entire thing.
They came out in 1994.
Oh wow! I thought they came out a little later than that. Okay.
No, 1994.
So, interesting. Anyway, this thing I'm showing here is basically what Anthony was talking about, but this came out probably in the 2000s or late 90s, where you were able to, I think this is where you dumped the ROM onto a zip disk and then play. Basically, this was the early stages of emulating games for the N64. So.
Yeah, and you can see the zip disks below with the list of games.
Right there.
Yeah, zip disks, when they first came out, the original storage capacity was 100 cool megabytes.
That was a lot. That was a lot back then. But
eventually they got up to 750, which was what a CDR would hold.
Yeah. And then we went to CDRs. So, but it's funny you mentioned that. That's what made me think of that. And if you saw one of the comments, you saw me commenting, a Genesis, a Game Gear TV tuner. I might be getting my hands on a Game Gear TV tuner.
Are you gonna buy the drive for the N64?
Maybe, I don't know. I need an N64 first.
All right, it's coming. Calm down.
What else we got?
All right, we got this is more newer news, but just to switch over to the more I hear about this game, the more I kind of just want to pick it up just for the sheer fun of it. But Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl is getting a new player.
Oh, thank God. It's actually a fun game. I played it on the PS5. It's really fun.
Yeah, I might just buy it just for the hell of it. But they are adding Shredder from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Still only 2 turtles though in the game. Only 2.
Yeah, I'm sure you're gonna be able to download the other 2.
Yeah.
Apparently, recently also they added Garfield.
So yeah. So
okay.
Listen, Garfield.
Does he just sleep on the screen?
A lot of lasagna thrown around. Garfield's still, he's still going. Garfield, I think, was a free download. Did they say anything about Shredder being a free download or paid DLC?
Free to download.
Perfect. Yeah, this game, I mean, honestly, I've said it before. Yeah.
You're going to want this too. There's also a new stage being released.
Ooh.
And you're going to love this.
Is it the sewers?
No, it's based on the Double Dare game show.
No, okay, no.
Yes.
No, I refuse to believe that. Really?
Yep. A new stage based on the show Double Dare.
That is awesome.
I need a Double Dare obstacle course to run through while I'm beating up other people.
God. On your mark, get set, go. Wow. Mark Summers better be in the background of that level.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great. Yeah, and then you just like hit him with stuff and he starts cleaning himself really furiously.
Mark Summers had terrible OCD, excuse me. Yes. I mean, terrible OCD, and he hosted the messiest game show on television.
Well, it goes to show you, do not let your fears stop you.
Oh, well, it's like the episode when they threw pies at him. Like, I thought he was going to have a mental breakdown at that point.
He probably did. He probably, like, ran in the back and sanitized himself.
But still, a Double Dare course? Oh, my God.
Yes.
I actually have Double Dare. It's funny. I have Double Dare on NES. I don't know why. I sucked at Double Dare on every console that ever came out on, including Commodore 64.
I remember playing Double Dare for NES, but I don't remember it being any good.
Yeah, no, it was terrible. But
yeah, see, but nowadays, like, revitalize these old game shows and give me a PS4 or PS5 version of Double Dare. Oh my God, I would rock that. I would play that. Give me that. Give me Legends of the Hidden Temple. Give me
Didn't that come back? Well, no, they made it into a movie.
No. I thought they made it into a movie. No. But the game came back with adults as the contestants. I know because I looked for it to audition, but I couldn't.
Awesome. That's phenomenal.
God damn it! I wanted to be an orange iguana or whatever the hell they were.
I don't remember that much. I remember watching the show, but I don't remember the names of the teams.
Yeah, they were colors. It was like the red monkeys and the purple iguanas and I forgot what the orange ones were. But I wanted to be orange. That's all I remember.
We have to revisit game show games down the road.
Yes.
It's one to go back to. All right, and now I have to get this
maybe
game.
in one of our monthly contests.
Ooh, shouldn't have said anything about Double Dare then. So damn it. So
But yeah, a double. So that actually may tip the scales for me to pick it up.
And I've said it before, I said it again, how Nintendo's not suing Nickelodeon for this game, because it is literally Super Smash Brothers, just with Nickelodeon characters.
Well, what's funny is that even in the quote that I just read in the article, they say at the very end of it, this is no Super Smash Brothers. I think they're just trying to point it out over and over again.
It's like on like the front cover of Dead Rising. Right? It said this game has nothing to do with the George A. Romero movie series, because the game is about zombies in a mall.
Right. So people just want to point those out. That's all.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's like nowadays seeing a commercial and you see a little writing on the bottom, filmed before COVID-19. I was like, okay, I'm comfortable seeing people in a group.
Without
Continue
masks.
on. What else we got?
So some Nintendo news coming out as well.
Okay.
Metroid Dread, which we both have thoroughly enjoyed.
Loved it.
It's at a tipping point of itself. Metroid Dread has up until the end of December. Get down, you're not getting the straw. He actually puts his paws up on top of my desk to grab it.
You gotta film him and send him into that guy who's been doing the you ever see the voiceovers? So that guy does all the animal videos?
Yes, I should do that with him.
Damn it, Timmy.
So as of December 31st, Metroid Dread has sold 2.74 million units.
Nice.
Which isn't the best on Nintendo. Nintendo's other franchises have sold more. But the distinction here is that it has now sold more units than the original NES Metroid, which sold 2.73. And it is nearly 100,000 units away from beating Metroid Prime, which is the best-selling Metroid in the franchise.
Ooh, all right. Very cool.
So,
maybe I'll buy it a couple more times.
Yeah, so incredibly successful Metroid Dread. Yeah. I think it's safe to say we'll be seing another one based on how well this one
I hope so. Fingers crossed, man. Fingers crossed.
Yes. Fight those space chickens.
I mean, who by now is still playing the game?
I have no idea. I don't know who in their right mind would Jack play it so long. Still not beat it. We won't name names, Jack.
Nah.
And then speaking of really good selling games,
yes.
We all know how popular Animal Crossing New Horizons is.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But Animal Crossing New Horizon has now become the best-selling video game in Japan ever.
Wow.
Ever.
Huh.
It has sold 10 million units in Japan alone. Now, you would think that doesn't sound like a lot, but you also have to remember. Well, you got to remember the size of Japan. Japan is a lot smaller.
That's true.
Smaller country. The previous record holder was the original Super Mario Brothers on the Famicom, which sold 6.81 million units in Japan.
Interesting.
So this has already cleared it by 3 million.
And I believe that because the game hit. I mean, hate to say it, but the game hit at right when the pandemic started. Yeah. So what else? Time. Yeah. What else are you going to do if you're stuck at home to play a game that essentially involves you being home?
Yeah. So it also is, I guess, second. It's the second biggest selling game on the Switch right now.
Okay.
Worldwide, it has sold 37.6 million.
Ooh.
The only thing ahead of it right now is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which has sold 43.3 million.
That game is still trucking along. That game is still like number one in charts, like in the UK or something like that every now and again.
Yeah, it just pops up to the top every once in a while. They're still selling tons of those, which is crazy because I would think by now everybody would have it.
Honestly.
But the reason why people are still buying Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, because right now, if you think about it, over 43 million units of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe have been sold. That is just 43% of the over 103 million Switch consoles that have been sold since the system came out 5 years ago.
Love hearing that.
103 million, which just made it eclipse the original PlayStation on the all-time list. Nice. It is now the fifth best selling console of all time.
If I may,
that does include Game Boy on the list.
Okay, so like consoles, I gotcha. If I may hopefully not throw a wrench in it, but I'll ask anyway. Do you know? And if you don't know, you don't have to look into it. Like, is this just the base Switch? Or are we talking like the Switch? Because Nintendo kind of hedges their bets because they have a Switch Lite, and now the OLED Switch.
No, those all factor in.
Okay, because I know a lot of people who bought a Switch Lite just for the convenience of it traveling. So like right off the bat, you're going to double the sales almost. But nevertheless,
that counts.
Okay, no, fair enough. But listen, that fan is gonna blow out the back of my Switch at some point. So Lord knows I'll be buying a new Switch soon.
Exactly. So it just surpassed the Wii and the PlayStation, because the Wii was at 101.6, PlayStation was at 102.5. So now it's at 103. It's got a little catching up to do to hit the top spot. PlayStation 2 still leads with 155 million, but the Switch can pull it off because this game, this console is definitely proven to just sell like gangbusters to everybody. It's like an all-age thing here.
I told like 2021. I think I played it more than my Xbox and the PlayStation. Yep. I'm loving it. It has nothing to do with graphics. It's just enjoyable. So very good.
Yeah,
happy to hear that.
So happy to hear that. And now I'm going to switch over to retro birthdays.
If I may just mention one quick piece of news that I saw. Just one quick piece of news.
Maybe.
So finally, Rockstar has finally addressed the elephant in the room. They have acknowledged.
Which elephant are we talking about?
Not this one here, not me. But what we're talking about is they have acknowledged that, yes, they are working. Nothing else said about it other than they are working essentially on the next GTA.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
Not an add-on, not a DLC for GTA 5, but basically, even though without calling it GTA 6, they're like, we hear you, we're working on it, GTA 6 is down the road. So, finally.
Well, it better be VR ready. That's all I'm saying.
It'll be ready for the PlayStation 5. There goes my joke. Never mind.
PlayStation 6.
I was going to say 8, but still.
Don't you love how you ruin your jokes? And speaking of the PlayStation 5, the PS VR 2, they're releasing more information about it. And oh, wow. That's all I have to say. Is the controllers look amazing. There's going to be haptic feedback on the controllers, and there's going to be I forget what they call it. It's like finger touch sensitivity, where you don't even necessarily need to touch a button for it to acknowledge what you're doing in the game. And no external camera. It's all internal.
Oh, that's nice. Even better. I think the best part about VR2, one wire.
Yes, and I was just one wire plug. One wire into the USB and you're done.
Yes.
I'm like, but yeah, just the fact that like it's all internal cameras, so you don't got to worry about that.
Like the Oculus.
Like everything they're talking about, this sounds amazing.
That's kind of why I haven't rehooked up my PlayStation VR. I need schematics to hook it back up to the PS4.
Oh, it's not that hard. Get over it. I just wish I wish I could play Beat Saber and this Beat Saber.
All right, what else we?
All right,
what else we got?
Retro birthdays.
Yes,
moving on to retro birthdays.
Okay. Who's old?
Who is old? Us.
We are.
We are. Someone's going to be older next month. So
I already feel it.
You don't feel it as much as I do, trust me. Celebrating its 20th retro birthday, coming out in the US on February 11th, 2002. Probably a game that you would know more than I would, because I did not play handheld. Super Mario World, Super Mario Advance 2 for the Game Boy Advance is 20 years old.
Yes, great game. I mean, essentially just a port of Super Mario World. But that Super Mario Advance series on the Game Boy Advance was fantastic. They especially with Super Mario Brothers 2 and Super Mario Brothers 3 specifically, they really did like jack up the graphics a little bit, change some things around, very minor. I don't remember too much change in Super Mario World on that Super Mario Advance 2, but great series, and God, 20 years, oofa.
20 years.
Yeah.
And speaking of 20 years, we have another one celebrating its 20th anniversary that came out on February 6th in the United States. Over a year and a half after it came out in Japan, mind you. But
it's a little okay.
yeah, and it was at the end, pretty much the end of the Nintendo 64 life cycle, a game that you have played and absolutely love, and a game that I've always wanted to play and never have. Paper Mario is now 20 years old.
Wow.
On the Nintendo 64.
Currently, I believe available now on the N64 collection on the Switch.
Which I don't have.
Paper Mario, yes, great RPG. Doesn't have the same feel as Super Mario RPG. Don't get me wrong, I still love that one.
I really want another one of those.
Yeah, I know. But Paper Mario does a good job with it. Don't get me wrong. Paper Mario does an excellent job, and again, it created a series.
Gino and Malo.
It gave us a wonderful series at this point with the Paper Mario, which is going on today. The Origami King was released on Switch last year.
Yes, it was.
All right,
so yeah,
cool.
so 20 years for the Paper Mario franchise. Very nice there. Celebrating its 25th retro birthday in the United States.
Okay.
Coming out on February 12th, 1997. A game that we played nonstop. And I'm talking about Mario Kart 64.
Wow, 25 years.
25 years of Mario Kart 64.
Battle mode. Oh, man.
Battle mode was the best. With the balloons and everything.
There were fights. Yes.
Oh, there were many fights.
There was rage quitting on everyone's part during those games.
I was going to say, I think the N64 probably prompted the most rage quitting.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
But that's also because we all played together. And
this is true. It was easy to have the four. I know you had a multi-tap for the PlayStation, but yeah, no, it was just easier to play with the four players. But wow, 25 years. Oh, God.
Yeah, 25 years. Absolutely fantastic.
Awesome.
I still hold out that Toad is the best guy to play in a Mario Kart game.
You know what? On the N64, I will agree with you. I usually went either Koopa or Toad, depending on the game, the series.
Well, because they were the same.
Yeah, true.
Because remember back then, they had like two characters that kind of just were the same, and it was Koopa and Toad. They had a good guy and a bad guy. It's the same. So, but yeah, 25 years of Mario Kart 64. I still again, Nintendo's good at, farming what's worked before. So like some of the boards in Mario Kart 64 are in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Oh, the Mario Kart series is notorious for rehashing
triple dipping.
yeah. And they always make it better for the new system that they work on. But N64 had some great courses. So again, absolutely. Available on the Switch.
Yep. So happy 25th retro birthday. Yeah. And now a 30th retro birthday. Before we get to the last one.
All right.
We're going to a 30th retro birthday. And this is in the arcade. But the reason why I bring it up is because it's probably one of the most well-loved, respected arcade games that only came to home console once and should always be available for everybody to play. I am talking about Konami's X-Men, the arcade game.
Wow, that's
30 years old. Yep.
Yeah, I guess
X-Men,
that makes sense.
Welcome to Die. That phrase is also 30 years old.
Wow. Man,
yeah, 30 years.
I mean, you're used to kind of the four player, but every now and again you run into that dual screen 6 player, and who gets stuck playing on the two sides, like literally perpendicular to the screen. Or parallel, I should say. Parallel to the screen.
And then and again, it was only released once on Xbox Live.
Xbox 360
It was released on
Live.
Xbox and PS3. Although it said it was available for the Android, iPad, and iPhone. I don't remember when that was.
I think it was for a very short amount of time.
But playing it on there, I can never play it on there.
It's a little tough. Honestly, and I don't mean it in a bad way, no disrespect to the system, but the only reason why I still have a 360 is because it has X-Men on it. That's it. Same reason why. Simpsons I have on PS3. So
okay.
Yeah, so I have both of those going on their individual things, but still, nice. I'll never get rid of those systems for just those two games.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you decide to, buy the Arcade 1-Up arcade for the X-Men.
Bro, if I trust you when I tell you, I would have already owned them if I was maybe living in the main floor apartment, because there'd be much more room.
Yeah, so, trust me, if I had the money, for it, I
Well,
would
I
drop it
mean,
right now and do
you
it.
could have picked one up for $90.
I could have, but it did not happen.
You know, on top of that, everything else that gets charged to your card afterwards.
As long as it's good stuff, I'm fine. I can live with it.
Oh, credit.
All right, and rounding out the retro birthdays,
Yes.
we're gonna go back. We're gonna go back in time 1 week. Okay, because I really wanted to. I really wanted to spend time on this one, a little bit of time on this one, and I know we might run long.
That's all right, no problem. People love us.
January 31st, 1997. We are celebrating the 25th retro birthday of the iconic game that was the reason why I wound up buying a Sony PlayStation, if I remember correctly.
Really, that was the sole reason. I know which one you're talking about, but I didn't. Okay.
That was, I think, the main reason why I got a PlayStation, because I had to have this game, and I'm really happy I did, because obviously it set me on a course for many, many experiences in the series that I love, and I'm talking about Final Fantasy VII.
I mean, a game as iconic, you know, it's weird sometimes when, you know, it's one thing to celebrate Final Fantasy, it's the series, but to point out one of the sequels, especially that deep into it. Sometimes you get that, whether it's a movie or a video game, you get that deep into a series, and you know, sometimes you're like, there's something to waver here. But you're right, 7 just, I mean, rocked on all cylinders.
Yeah, it was an insane commercial success. It sold more than 13.3 million copies worldwide, which for an RPG is phenomenal.
Ridiculous.
It's considered one of the greatest video games of all time. You'll find it on every top 100 list, and if they leave it off, they're lying. No, I'll say
I believe you. There
are very few games that you can point to that are as influential as Final Fantasy VII. So it also brought RPG gaming into the 3D environment.
I can see that. Yeah.
So, we've a very long time ago, we did we used to do these retro spotlights. And I did a retro spotlight on Final Fantasy VII, probably during one of the anniversaries.
Probably the 20th anniversary. We've been around long enough.
Anniversary. It's been we've been around long enough that we're at we hit our 5-year anniversary.
We did.
Holy Lord. Last year. But so instead of not doing a retro spotlight on it, I just want to do some
fun.
You know, I did some research on some things you may or may not know about Final Fantasy VII.
You know, I'm going to say, so, I mean, it's not anything groundbreaking, but I got to say, I honestly, this is the part of the podcast I do love when you break out these fun facts, because 3/4 of them I've never heard of, and I love hearing these fun facts. So hit me with your best shot. I might mute myself because they're doing the construction outside, so.
No worries. You're fine. I don't really hear them. It's very low.
We're good.
So you're fine. And I like sharing fun facts, because when I'm looking them up, I'm learning them too. You know what I mean? Like, these are things where it's like, oh, cool, I did not know this. Yeah. All right. So a few things to share. One is, this is the very first Final Fantasy game. Again, it's the 7th in the series. It's the first Final Fantasy game to ever show blood.
Wow. Okay. You know, well, going into this, I got to admit, I never got far in Final Fantasy VII, but it's been forever since I played it. I'm trying to remember where the blood would have been.
Yeah. There are definitely areas in the game where you're looking like there are characters down. There's blood on the floor.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah, stuff like that. It's not like you hit something and it bleeds.
No, that's what I was thinking of at first, but I see what you're talking about. All right, still interesting though.
Yeah, wow. But still very, very, first opportunity to really see blood. It was the first Final Fantasy game that actually explained where the monsters came from, where some of the monsters you battled came from, because it was part of the story. Shinra, which was the evil corporation in the game, what they were doing is they were experimenting on living test subjects using Mako energy, which is the energy in the game. Yep. And those experiments, when they would go awry, would create these monsters. And those are the monsters you wind up encountering in the game.
That sounds very Umbrella-like.
Does, right? These came out not too far apart either.
This is true.
Maybe they were just sharing secrets. It was the very first Final Fantasy game to use profanity.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was really interesting. And actually, when you play the Final Fantasy VII remake, because it's all voice acting, they just up and curse in that one. Like, they're just all out. At least in Final Fantasy VII, you would see the symbols that show that they're cursing.
Yeah.
They didn't
very
just
Hubert-like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Very Kubert-like. But it was the first one to actually employ some swear words into the game.
Okay.
It was one of the most expensive games ever made.
I can see that.
And
I can definitely see that.
and we're talking even counting today.
Oh,
so,
really?
Like going up to, so I'll give you an example from the article I'm reading is from thegamer.com.
Okay.
Final Fantasy VII cost $45 million to make in the 90s, in the mid 90s. Wow. So you can argue that it is like if you add inflation, it's considered the third most expensive game to make that's been made. Mm-hmm. So just to give you an idea, in 2009, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 cost $50 million to make. That's 12 years later.
Okay.
Right? But add in the fact also that on top of the $45 million they spent $100 million in marketing.
Really?
The advertising, the marketing campaign, $100 million just to market the game alone.
Wow. What year did this game come out again? What did you say, 25 years of doing now? So
1997.
97, excuse me. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm actually doing the inflation calculator.
Okay.
So
go ahead. What do you get?
So 45 million in 97 today is almost 78.2 million.
That is not what I'm quoted here.
Well, then this website is a liar.
Well, according to today's dollars, they say it costs 216 million with the inflation. I wonder if they're including the marketing campaign.
Maybe
they're probably including the 100 because they spent 145 million overall on the game, including the marketing. When you add all that in, it puts it behind two games. GTA 5, which cost 272 million, which is insane. And then Modern Warfare 2 would be 279 million.
Okay. Yeah, they definitely included the marketing. So
yeah. Third most expensive game made. Well, you have to include marketing in that because they put that in the budget when they start making a game. Yeah. So, and $100 million in marketing is insane. That's what like major motion pictures spend. Although now they spend more because of Marvel. Thank you, Marvel. One of the coolest things I like to point out, and I already knew this about Final Fantasy, is that the final scene in the actual game itself is the opening scene to the movie Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. So
and I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, if you've ever seen Advent Children, I will say this: if you don't know the world of Final Fantasy, the movie will make no sense to you at all.
Okay.
But if you know the story of the game, the movie picks up right where the game ends.
That's interesting.
And then you get the story right after the game.
Yeah, I gotta see that movie.
Which I don't think has ever happened before between a game and a movie.
No, like the movie being the sequel to the game, basically, or continuation. Yeah, no, that's
exactly.
What I can think of. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of a first, which is really cool. Final Fantasy VII also fixed the quote unquote numbering problem in the Western world.
Oh yeah,
because Final Fantasy III became Final Fantasy VI here, and there was all this stuff. There was all this stuff going around where it was just a mess. So instead of just calling it 4 in the US, they were like, nope, it's 7 in Japan. It's going to be 7 around the world. So they fixed the numbering problem with that one. Another fun fact: this game was originally supposed to come out on the Super Nintendo.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, remember, the first 6 Final Fantasies were released on the Super Nintendo or the Super Famicom, right? And Square and Nintendo were still working together really well. However, what happened was Square was a little bit distracted with another game they were working on. So they put Final Fantasy VII on hold. And it wound up being on hold long enough that it wound up moving over to the PlayStation.
Interesting. That probably explains why then how big the game is, because you can probably do that on a cart a lot easier than on the CDs.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what was a game that was so important to Square that they had to put a Final Fantasy game on hold? Chrono Trigger.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
I thought you were going to say something stupid.
No, if not for Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VII would have been on the Super Nintendo.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
And then let's see, it was the first 3D Final Fantasy, which we all know. For people who think, spoiler alert, if you haven't played Final Fantasy VII,
by this point,
The original one. I'm sorry, it's been 25 years. Get over it. In Final Fantasy VII, Eris, Cloud's love, dies at the hands of Sephiroth.
Boo.
He just comes down and shoves a sword right through her, and not even to her face. He does it through her back.
That's how you do it.
It's awful. It's one of the most gut-wrenching scenes in a video game, hands down. I sat there and was just stunned. And I mean, when I say stunned, because it's at the end of a disc.
Yeah.
So like they let you live with it. So it's like the disc ends and it's like, please insert the next disc. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, no.
With a tear.
Like, no.
Just shit.
Like,
that single tear. Yep.
Absolutely not. I'm not putting in another disc.
I'm not crying. You're crying.
I'm not crying. I'm not crying for all the time I wasted leveling her up.
It's like me when I
have her die.
It was like me when I was watching Ghostbusters Afterlife. I'm like,
no, I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay.
Shush. So anyway, people to this day still believe that there's a way in the game to bring her back to life.
Mm-hmm.
The bottom line is no.
Done.
Once she dies,
done.
Once she dies, she dies. As
So
Drago would say.
I was just gonna say, if she dies, she dies.
Yeah, well, she did, and she stayed dead. So just so everybody knows, because what happened was people hacked into the game and they found dialogue for her in other discs.
Oh, okay.
So they were like, oh, there must be a way to bring her back. But no, it's not true. She was always she was always supposed to die at that part of the story. Otherwise, the story doesn't make sense when you play the original Final Fantasy. Now, the remake is something entirely different because of things that they do. You need to play it to understand it. Final Fantasy VII was originally supposed to take place in New York City.
Really? That's interesting.
It was originally supposed to take place in New York City, and it was also supposed to be a detective story.
That would have been weird.
Yep. So it took place. The idea was it took place in New York. There was an organization trying to destroy the Mako reactors, and a character named Detective Joe was investigating them.
Detective Joe. Let's think of a Western name. Joe. Done.
Yep. Referring to the investigator. So Tetsuya Nomura, who was Final Fantasy VII's character and battle visual director, talked about this years ago. And he said in 2012, he called him the investigator known as Hot-Blooded Detective Joe.
Like every New Yorker.
Yeah, basically.
And now you can get away with that because remember, Final Fantasy, even though it's Final Fantasy VII, none of these were direct sequels to each other until you got to Final Fantasy X. So,
Yep. So, the other thing that's interesting about Final Fantasy VII is that original concepts for Final Fantasy VII wound up moving over to other games because it got put on hold. So when we talk about Square working on Chrono Trigger, they actually moved some stuff over from the Super Nintendo development of Final Fantasy VII to Chrono Trigger. The original idea of the game taking place in New York, they took that concept and made a different game out of it, and it's called Parasite Eve.
Oh.
So that concept
that's right. Yeah,
that's Parasite Eve.
Okay.
And then there was another game that became something else because according to another developer, Soraya Saga, her and another Tetsuya Takahashi, these two people submitted a script for Final Fantasy VII that Square said it was too dark and too complicated to be a fantasy game. So they took that original script that these two wrote for Final Fantasy VII and they made it into Xenogears. So Xenogears.
Wow.
Yeah, we got Xenogears because of Final Fantasy VII as well.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah, so really interesting. Couple other things. The Western version of Final Fantasy VII actually had 2 more super bosses than the Japanese version of the game.
Really?
If you remember the Ruby weapon and the Emerald weapon, which I do, because let me tell you something, these super boss battles in the game, like I remember some of them taking 60 to 90 minutes to beat.
God.
Like, we're not talking short. Literally, like
you just talked me out of playing the game.
Yeah, it's like you're sitting there and you're playing something forever. And it could have just been my characters weren't leveled up to where they should have been or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, some of these things took forever to beat. But there was such a sense of satisfaction when you did. You know,
absolutely.
Afterwards, I would get a cookie. So because after you beat something, you know, after you fight something for 90 minutes, you deserve a cookie.
I think
or a piece of cake. And there's a, you know, this is why I was fat when I was younger.
That's why I'm fat now. That's all I do is I beat super bosses.
Ooh, I beat something. I need a cookie or a cake or a whole cake. One of the other things to point out, Final Fantasy VII was the first Final Fantasy game to feature voice acting, although it was very limited. But there's a part in the game where the where am I? I'm trying to find this. Where there's a giant cannon called the Sister Ray Cannon that's being ready to fire, and you hear a female voice announcing safety precautions for awesome. the cannon. That is the only voice you hear in the game, but still,
very cool
voice acting. So we got that. Trying to think. Oh, so 2 characters in the game were almost cut due to constraints. Due to time constraints in the game, and they were Yuffie and Vincent Valentine.
Okay.
So they were originally supposed to they were supposed to be more integral to the story, but they were going to get cut. Then they wound up fitting them back into the game, but they wound up becoming optional characters. So because they weren't central to the story, you can actually skip finding them in the game.
Oh, interesting.
So you actually could play the entire game without Yuffie and Vincent and be perfectly fine, or you can have them in your party. And then Yuffie, of course, for the remake, got her own separate story in the what is it? The intermission? I don't know.
Integrate. I think it's Integrate. It's called. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that name sounded familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, she has her own side story. In the new one. And then let's see, what else can I say? That Square has hinted for years, like you said, Final Fantasy X, right? Is the first one to have a sequel. However, Square has now pretty much confirmed that Final Fantasy X lives in the same universe as Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, interesting.
So they are in the same world.
Okay.
So there's that. I think that's everything I found out. So lots of little fun facts about Final Fantasy VII to celebrate the 25th anniversary. A very happy 25th retro birthday to Final Fantasy VII. It makes me want to go back and play it all over again, except they do not have the 60 hours to put into the game right now.
It's a little tough now.
It is a little tough now. Plus, I started Final Fantasy IX on my Switch. I downloaded it when I started traveling again. So I've been playing that whenever I'm on a plane.
All right,
I'm
cool.
Looking through that one now.
And they are available as like remastered editions. You can get the remastered editions, I believe, Final Fantasy VII, the original one. So
yes, you can get a remastered for 7 and 8 on, I think, Switch, PS4, everything. All of them. Yeah, I think it's on all of them. Yeah. But if you've never played Final Fantasy VII and you do love RPG games, I mean, I could not recommend it enough. It was an absolutely life-changing game for me. I really enjoyed it. And cool. And not only that, the remake is awesome too. I love the remake.
Yes, no, remake is cool. I got to get back into that one. So, all right, excellent. Well, there we go, folks. That's what we got happening this week. And yep. And if you can just do a little bit more, where?
I'm tired.
Oh.
I don't want to do anymore.
You want me to do it? Okay.
No, I'll do it because I do it better. You can find that. Yeah, it's true. You can find us on Facebook.com/Retro Gamers Podcast. You can find us on Instagram at Retro Gamers Podcast, on Twitter at Retro Gamers Pod. You can watch us on YouTube. You can listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts, including our new home on Anchor FM. And you can email us at email@theretrogamers.com.
There we go. And with that, Ant, enjoy the rest of the week.
I will. So
someone. I just heard him. Yeah.
I know. What's the problem, buddy?
It's like, where's my anniversary?
You want to say goodbye? You can't find him anywhere.
You can find him next to the food bowl.
Exactly. But that's it for this week. You got anything else to say? Except that you don't want to stay like
he's
this.
He's going to bite you. Oh, man. There will be blood drawn here for the first time. And folks, we will catch you everywhere next week on the Retro Gamers Podcast.